In the rush of life, anger often feels like an old friend, always ready to visit, showing up quickly and leaving us uneasy. But what if I told you that the key to changing this isn't about suppressing anger, but mastering the art of delay? Let's dive into an age-old truth. The best remedy for anger is delay. These words from the Roman philosopher Seneca, spoken nearly 2,000 years ago, still hold the power to transform how we live today. But before we explore how to apply this wisdom, we must ask ourselves why. Why should we care about controlling anger? Why not just let it run free? Uncontrolled anger is like a wildfire. It can burn through relationships, harm our health, and leave us with deep regrets that last for years. Yet, anger itself isn't the enemy. It's a natural emotion, often signaling that something we value is at risk. The real challenge lies in how we respond to it. This is where Stoic philosophy comes in. The Stoics, ancient Greek and Roman thinkers, taught that while we can't always control what happens to us, we have full control over how we react. In the space between stimulus and response lies our greatest strength. So, how do we create this pause, and what happens in those precious moments? Let's look at the stories of three different people: Sarah, Michael, and Alex. Each faces challenges that test their patience and ignite anger. Sarah is a high-level executive, juggling multiple responsibilities at once. Her day is packed with back-to-back meetings, urgent emails, and critical decisions. During one meeting, she feels frustration rising as a colleague presents a poorly prepared report. In that moment, Sarah feels her anger building. The old Sarah might have reacted harshly, criticizing the colleague in front of everyone. But now, Sarah has practiced the art of delay. As her anger flares, she remembers the words of Marcus Aurelius: "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." In that pause, Sarah asks herself three key questions. What is within my control? How would my best self respond? Will this matter in a month? By creating this delay, Sarah gives herself the space to respond wisely, rather than react impulsively. She chooses to address the issue constructively, turning a potential conflict into an opportunity for growth. Next, we have Michael, a high school teacher facing a different set of challenges. Working with teenagers all day requires patience, understanding, and sometimes a thick skin. During one class, a student acts out, showing disrespect and disrupting the lesson. Michael feels his anger rising as the student's behavior threatens to derail the entire class. But Michael, too, has learned the power of delay. In that moment, he recalls Epictetus' teaching: "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." In that brief pause, Michael reflects on three things. The student's behavior isn't a personal attack. There may be underlying issues driving the behavior. How can I turn this into a teachable moment? Through delay, Michael transforms his anger into empathy, avoiding confrontation and turning it into a meaningful interaction. Finally, there's Alex, a stay-at-home parent managing the daily frustrations of raising children. Although not working in a traditional office, Alex faces countless situations that could spark anger and frustration. One day, Alex is at the supermarket when their child throws a tantrum. As the child acts out, Alex feels the familiar surge of anger and embarrassment. But Alex, too, has learned the art of delay. In that moment, Alex remembers Seneca's words: "He who is not angry at evil does not have a virtuous soul, but he who remains calm in the face of anger is wise." In that fleeting pause, Alex reflects on three things. My child isn't trying to make my life difficult, they're having a difficult moment. How can I respond in a way that helps rather than escalates the situation? By delaying the initial reaction, Alex finds calm and responds with compassion instead of anger. In all three cases, the act of delaying anger allowed each person to tap into a deeper strength, one that led to wiser decisions, healthier relationships, and less regret. This isn't about suppressing emotion or pretending not to feel anger. It's about recognizing anger as a natural response and learning to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. When we delay, we give ourselves the gift of choice, the ability to act from a place of wisdom rather than reflex. As we navigate our own daily challenges, we can apply this same principle. The next time anger flares up, Take a breath, create a pause, and ask yourself, what is within my control? How would my best self handle this? And will this matter a month from now? In those moments of delay, we discover the true power to shape our lives. How do we address the underlying needs driving behavior? Everything passes. Through the act of delaying, Alex turns anger into understanding, responding to the child's needs rather than reacting to their behavior. Sarah, Michael, and Alex illustrate that the art of delay is not about suppressing anger, but about creating the space for wisdom to emerge. In that space, we can choose our response and align our actions with our values, rather than with fleeting emotions. But how do we cultivate the ability to delay anger, and what happens in the brain during that precious pause? As we delve deeper into the science of anger, the philosophy of Stoicism, and practical techniques for mastering this emotion, let's first explore what happens in the brain during those critical moments of delay. When anger flares up, the amygdala, our brain's emotional center, triggers a stress response, preparing the body for an instinctual fight-or-flight reaction. In ancient times, this quick response served as a survival mechanism. But in the modern world, reacting too quickly often causes more harm than good. This is where the power of delay shines through. By intentionally pausing, even for just a few seconds, we activate the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for rational thought and decision-making. This simple act allows us to shift from an emotional reaction to a thoughtful response. How do we build the habit of delay? Like any skill, it requires practice and patience. Let's explore some practical techniques you can apply in your daily life. The first is the 5-5-5 rule. When you feel anger rising, ask yourself, will this matter in 5 minutes, 5 months, 5 years? This mental exercise helps put the issue into perspective, often revealing that our anger is disproportionate to the severity of the problem. Next is box breathing. Inhale for a count of 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, and hold again for 4. Repeat this cycle 4 times. This technique, used by Navy SEALs, calms the nervous system and creates the crucial moment of delay. Another technique is the Stoic pause. When facing a triggering situation, take a mental step back and observe it as an impartial outsider. Ask yourself, what would a wise person do in this situation? This creates emotional distance and allows for a more reasoned response. You can also practice reframing. During the delay, try to shift your perspective on the situation. Instead of viewing it as a threat or personal attack, can you see it as a challenge or an opportunity for growth? Lastly, there's the "is it true" technique. When angry thoughts arise, question them. Is this really true? Often our anger is based on assumptions or misunderstandings. This question helps us pause and reassess. Remember, the goal isn't to never feel anger. Anger is a natural emotion and can sometimes be useful. The objective is to create space between the stimulus and our response, a space where we can choose how to act. Let's revisit our 3 examples, Sarah, Michael, and Alex, and see how they've integrated these techniques into their lives. Sarah, an executive, has made the 555 rule an essential part of her mental toolkit. During a recent tense negotiation, she felt anger surge when a business partner made an offer she found insulting. But before reacting, she quickly asked herself the 3-5-5-5 questions. Although the offer frustrated her in the moment, she realized that in 5 months or 5 years, it wouldn't matter. This perspective shift allowed her to remain calm and continue the negotiation effectively, eventually reaching a mutually beneficial agreement. Michael, a high school teacher, has mastered box breathing. One day, a student was repeatedly disruptive, testing Michael's patience to the limit. As anger welled up, he excused himself and spent 64 seconds practicing 4 cycles of box breathing. The focus on his breath allowed him to return to the classroom with clarity and calm. He addressed the student's behavior firmly but with compassion, turning what could have been a heated confrontation into a valuable teaching moment. These techniques aren't about suppressing or ignoring anger, but about transforming it. By delaying our reaction, we give ourselves the opportunity to act in line with our values, maintain control over our emotions, and improve our relationships. Alex, a stay-at-home father, has mastered the Stoic pause. On a particularly tough day when everything seemed to go wrong, his child spilled juice on the freshly cleaned floor. In the past, this might have been the tipping point, but Alex took a step back, mentally asking himself, what would a wise father do in this situation? This brief moment of reflection allowed him to see the event not as an intentional provocation, but as a natural part of a child's growth. Instead of scolding, he turned the cleanup into a game, teaching responsibility while maintaining a positive atmosphere. These real-world examples show that the art of delaying anger isn't just a philosophical concept, but a practical tool we can use every day. But what happens when anger feels too overwhelming, too justified to delay? This is when we need to dig deeper into the roots of our anger. Often it's not just the immediate trigger, but unmet needs or deeper fears driving our frustration. In that pause, ask yourself, what's really bothering me? Am I feeling disrespected, insecure, or powerless? Understanding the underlying cause allows us to address the real issue, rather than just reacting to surface-level frustrations. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "People are not disturbed by events, but by their opinions about them." This insight reminds us that anger often stems not from the situation itself, but from how we interpret it. By delaying our initial reaction, we give ourselves the chance to reassess our perspective and choose a more constructive view. Let's practice this now. Think about a recent situation that made you angry. Got it? Now, reverse engineer the art of delay. Take a deep breath and pause. As you mentally revisit the event, follow these steps. First, ask yourself, what in this situation triggered my anger? Then, consider if there's another way to interpret the issue without facing immediate anger. This shift in perspective can help reduce negative emotions. Third, reflect on which of your needs were unmet at that moment. Lastly, if you could go back, how would you respond differently? This exercise isn't about judging your initial reaction, but training your mind to create the necessary pause in future situations, allowing you to choose a more appropriate response. Now let's address a common misconception. Delaying anger does not mean becoming passive. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Mastering the art of delay allows us to address problems more effectively and express ourselves more powerfully. When we react with calm and clarity instead of rage, our words carry more weight, and our actions have greater impact. Consider the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius. The closer a person is to calmness of mind, the closer they are to strength. This strength enables us to stand firm in our principles without being swayed by bursts of anger. It helps us say no with confidence and respect, set boundaries without burning bridges, and resolve conflicts constructively. Look at how our three friends, Sarah, Michael, and Alex, use this strength in their lives. Sarah recently dealt with a team member who consistently missed deadlines. In the past, her frustration might have led to harsh criticism, damaging their working relationship. But this time, Sarah used the pause technique to collect her thoughts. She then calmly had a focused conversation with the team member, explaining the consequences of the delays and working together to find a solution. Her calm strength turned a potentially destructive situation into a constructive dialogue, improving performance instead of causing defensiveness and resentment. Michael, a high school teacher, faced an angry parent upset about their child's grades. Rather than becoming defensive or responding with anger, Michael applied the "is it true" technique to question his own assumptions about the parent's intentions. This pause helped him stay open-minded and engage in a more thoughtful conversation, uncovering the parent's concerns and resolving the issue collaboratively. The examples of Sarah, Michael, and Alex show us that delaying anger is not about avoiding conflict or staying quiet. It's about creating space for wisdom and strength to guide our actions. By delaying, we align our responses with our values, fostering better relationships, clearer communication, and more effective problem-solving. The power of delay allows us to respond from a place of purpose, not from fleeting emotions. And that's a power worth cultivating every day. Michael realized that the parents' anger was likely driven by concern for their child's future. With this perspective in mind, he calmly explained the grading process and worked together with the parent to discuss strategies for the student's improvement. His calm and empathetic approach turned what could have been a heated confrontation into a productive collaboration focused on the child's progress. Meanwhile, Alex faced a different challenge with his neighbor, whose dog's constant barking was disturbing his child's sleep. Instead of confronting the neighbor out of frustration, Alex used a reframing technique, viewing the situation as an opportunity to foster a better relationship. After calming himself, he approached the neighbor, explained the issue gently, and suggested finding a solution together. This led to a friendly conversation where they discovered the dog's barking stemmed from separation anxiety. Working together, they came up with ideas to ease the dog's anxiety and restore peace in the neighborhood. In each of these situations, delaying their initial angry reactions allowed them to handle the problem more effectively. This is the true power of delay, not just in avoiding the negative consequences of anger, but in opening up possibilities for positive outcomes that anger would have closed off. However, there are times when anger rises too quickly, before we can even consider delaying it. This is where the practice of mindfulness comes in. Regular mindfulness practice can heighten emotional awareness, making it easier to recognize the early signs of anger before it takes over. Try a simple mindfulness exercise a few times throughout your day. Take a moment to check in with yourself. What emotions are you feeling right now? Where do you feel them in your body? Are your shoulders tense? Is your jaw clenched? By regularly tuning into your emotional state, you become more skilled at noticing the early warning signs of anger, giving you more opportunities to apply the art of delay. Remember, mastering the art of delaying anger is a journey, not a destination. There will be moments when you succeed in pausing before reacting, and other times when anger gets the best of you. The key is to approach this practice with self-compassion. As Epictetus said, we should not be angry at ourselves for our failures, but rather continue to educate ourselves without resentment. Each time you succeed in delaying your anger, no matter how small the victory, celebrate it. When you react in anger, view it as a learning opportunity. Reflect on what triggered your anger, how it felt in your body, and what you could do differently next time. As we near the end of this journey, let's summarize the key points of mastering the art of delaying anger. First, anger is not the enemy. It is a natural emotion that can signal important underlying issues. Second, the power lies in the pause between stimulus and response. That moment of delay gives us a chance to shift from an emotional reaction to a rational response. Techniques like the 5-5-5 rule, box breathing, and the Stoic pause can help us create this crucial delay. Delaying anger is not about suppressing emotion, but choosing to respond wisely. Regular mindfulness practice sharpens our awareness of anger's early signs, giving us more chances to pause before acting. Mastering the art of delay is an ongoing process that requires patience and self-compassion. View each encounter with anger as an opportunity to practice and grow. Start small. Even pausing for just a few seconds can make a significant difference. Over time, these brief pauses will lengthen, giving you more space to choose a thoughtful, measured response. Remember Seneca's words that we began with: the best remedy for anger is delay. Within that simple statement lies a profound truth. We all have the power to change our relationship with anger. By mastering the art of delay, we not only avoid the destructive consequences of unchecked anger, but we also open ourselves up to more compassionate, constructive, and effective ways of engaging with the world. The next time you feel anger rising, take a deep breath and create a small space between the stimulus and your reaction. In that space, you will find the power to choose your response, to understand rather than judge, and to transform rather than destroy. This is the true power of delay, and it's a power that lies within each of us. As you leave this video, I invite you to carry these techniques and strategies with you, along with a new perspective on anger. See it not as an enemy to be defeated, but as a messenger to be listened to after a moment of reflection. By doing so, you may find that anger no longer becomes a source of regret and destruction in your life, but a catalyst for growth, understanding, and positive change. The journey to mastering anger through delay is a lifelong one, but it's a journey that brings greater peace, stronger relationships, and deeper self-awareness. Take that first step, create your first pause, and discover the strength and wisdom that lies within. As we move into the final chapter of our exploration of the art of delaying anger, let's take a moment to reflect on what we've learned. We've explored the neurological mechanisms behind anger, discovered practical techniques to create delay, and seen how this approach can transform our daily interactions. Now, let's dive deeper into how we can integrate this practice into everyday life. Daily self-reflection is one of the most powerful ways to reinforce the habit of delay. The Stoics practiced an exercise known as the evening review. At the end of each day, they would reflect on their actions, particularly how they handled challenging situations. We can adapt this exercise to focus on controlling anger. Every evening, ask yourself these questions. When did I feel anger today? Did I manage to delay before reacting? If so, what was the result? If not, how might things have been different if I had delayed? What can I learn from this to apply tomorrow? This simple exercise reinforces the importance of delay and trains your mind to become more aware of situations that trigger anger. Over time, you will be able to create that crucial pause in the heat of the moment. But what about when anger feels justified, when we are faced with real injustice? This is where the Stoic concept of righteous anger comes into play. The Stoics believed that there is room for anger when it is controlled, proportional, and directed toward addressing an injustice. However, even in these cases, delay is critical. Seneca wrote, "Anger, even when justified, should never be displayed in private. Wait for a witness before expressing it." This delay serves multiple purposes. It allows us to ensure that the anger is justified, form a more effective response, and express our concerns in a way that is more likely to lead to positive change. Consider great leaders who knew how to transform anger into a force for social justice, like Martin Luther King Jr. and Nelson Mandela. Their anger at systemic injustice wasn't suppressed, but was channeled through patience and wisdom into powerful, non-violent actions. They exemplified how delay can turn anger from a destructive force into a catalyst for positive change. As we practice the art of delay, our relationship with anger begins to shift. Instead of seeing it as an overwhelming force, we start to recognize anger as valuable information, a signal that something in our environment needs our attention. This shift in perspective aligns with the Stoic principle of assent, the idea that we can re-examine our initial impressions and decide whether or not to accept them as true. When we feel the first signs of anger, we can pause and ask ourselves, is this anger serving me? Is it proportionate to the situation? Is there a more constructive way to address this? By consistently applying this practice, we cultivate what the Stoics called sophrosyne, a state of mental clarity characterized by moderation, self-control, and harmony. This practice trains us to respond to life's challenges with measured, thoughtful action rather than impulsive reactions, ultimately leading to more meaningful outcomes in our interactions and personal growth. In the end, delaying anger is not about suppressing our emotions or pretending they don't exist. It's about creating the space to respond with wisdom, to allow understanding to take the place of judgment, and to turn moments of frustration into opportunities for growth. Each pause, no matter how brief, becomes a chance to shape a better outcome for ourselves and those around us. And in that small, intentional space between what happens to us and how we choose to respond, lies one of the greatest strengths we can cultivate. This doesn't mean we'll never feel anger again, but rather that we develop the wisdom to recognize when anger is appropriate and the self-control to express it constructively. As we near the end of this journey, let's revisit our friends, Sarah, Michael, and Alex. Sarah found that practicing delay not only improved her professional life, but also deepened her personal relationships. By pausing before reacting to her partner's sometimes thoughtless comments, she could engage in more meaningful conversations about her needs and feelings, strengthening their bond and increasing mutual understanding. Michael, the high school teacher, began teaching his students about the art of delay, introducing mindfulness exercises into the classroom. He noticed a marked improvement in student behavior and even received thanks from parents who reported that these techniques were helping at home. Alex discovered that mastering delay increased his overall satisfaction in life. Instead of reacting angrily to everyday irritations, he responded thoughtfully, which brought him more joy in parenting and left him with more energy for his personal interests. These stories remind us that the art of delaying anger doesn't just help us avoid negative outcomes. It opens up space for richer, more fulfilling experiences in every area of life. As we conclude this journey, remember that mastering the art of delay is not about reaching perfection. There will still be moments when anger takes over, when we react before we can pause. What's important is to approach this practice with patience and self-compassion. Every moment of anger is an opportunity to practice, learn, and grow. As Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, then do what you have to do." By striving to respond with wisdom rather than rage, we place ourselves on a path of continuous growth and self-improvement. So as you move forward, I invite you to make a commitment to yourself, to create that small space between stimulus and response, that vital moment of delay. Start small. Even delaying by just a few seconds can make a significant difference. Over time, as you practice and refine your ability to pause, these small delays will lengthen, giving you more room to choose your response wisely. Remember, the power to change your relationship with anger lies within you, in that space between stimulus and response. In that moment of delay, you will find the freedom to choose how to act instead of reacting impulsively, to understand instead of judge, and to grow instead of destroy. As you move through your day, carry with you the wisdom of the Stoics and the insights we've explored together. You may find newfound strength in how you face anger. Discover that the power of delay is not just a technique, but a way of living. May this practice bring you greater peace, stronger relationships, and a deeper understanding of yourself and those around you. Thank you for joining me in exploring the art of delaying anger. Remember the words of Marcus Aurelius: "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. Now move forward and use the power of delay with wisdom and grace. Thank you for watching. If you found this content helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. I'll see you in the next video.